Hey, what's up everyone? Nick here. Welcome back to my updated walkthrough for Classic difficulty on The Evil Within 2. We are in Part 4, so real quick I'm going to pause the game, set this up. We're in Part 4, so as you can tell by the title of this video, at the end of the video, we're going to be saving our game for the 4th time. And you can also see that we are going to be completing Chapters 9 and 10. So if you remember at the end of the last video, we got through most of Chapter 9, and then I saved my game. So now we have to just finish Chapter 9, and it's really nothing. It's just a puzzle. So all we have left to do in Chapter 9 is solve a puzzle, and then we can move on to Chapter 10. Now, I do have a key in my inventory that I picked up in the last chapter, so I'm going to swing by here to cash that in. Now, this is probably one of two parts that most people are absolutely dreading. Chapter 10 is the cabin fight. Essentially, what it is if you've played the first Evil Within... Well, before I get to that, let me emphasize a couple things here. Shock bolts, shock bolts, shock bolts. These are going to save my life. So definitely try to have as many shock bolts as you can. Medical syringes, obviously you're going to want to heal yourself, and then shotgun rounds. For pistol rounds, you don't really have to worry about crafting those because the game is going to give you a lot. You might also want to have one or two smoke rounds. You see, I'm going to go ahead and make myself, I'm going to make sure I have those as well, because anything you can do to stun and stall the enemies is going to work to your favor. So full supply on shock bolts, good supply of smoke bolts, and then shotgun shells. Those are going to be your best friends in this section, because I'm telling you right now, Chapter 10 is hard. This is, like I said, one of the two moments that most people are going to be dreading. It's this, and it is the firewalk in Chapter 13. So if you've ever played Resident Evil 4, if you remember, there's a part in Act 2 where you are trapped in a cabin with Luis Serra, I think that was his name, and the cabin, it's a very small cabin, and it just gets ambushed by loads and loads of Ganados. If you remember that, and if you remember in The Evil Within 1, when in Chapter 6 we had to do the burning room fight, this is the game's version of those two fights. What is going to happen is we're going to be in a small cabin, and we're just going to be swarmed by enemies, and they're going to come in waves. So the first 3 waves are just going to consist of typical Lost. The 4th wave is going to have a couple Lost as well as one of the witches, and then the 5th wave is going to have 2 of those mutant crawlers. It is tough. Now, fun little story while I have the time to mention it. Believe it or not, I was lucky enough to do this on my first try. And what happened is, so I saved my game at the end of the last video, and then I said to myself, I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to just keep playing. I'm just going to keep playing. I'm going to go into Chapter 10, and I'm going to try the cabin fight. And believe it or not, I actually almost turned off my recording software because I said, there's no way I'm going to beat it. Like, I just want to practice it. There's no way I'm going to beat it. So I had my mouse on the turn off record button, and at the last second, this voice in the back of my head said, you know what, Nick? Keep it on. Because just in case you somehow beat this, you're going to kill yourself if you ended up not recording it. And thank the maker, I kept the recording going. I beat it on my first try, and I saved myself a world of hurt. So, beating it on your first try might not happen for you. I think just fortunately it worked in my favor. You are going to see, so there are some strategies that you can bring into this fight, and I'm going to share those strategies with you. However, just like the cabin section in Resident Evil 4, just like the burning room in Resident Evil, or in Evil Within 1, there's a small amount of luck that goes into this, and unfortunately that's just how it's going to work. Alright, so go ahead and approach this tunnel. Make sure you're ready, because as soon as you exit this tunnel, there's going to be a cutscene, and that's going to lead us right into Chapter 10. So here we go, guys. Here is what you want to do. For the first wave, you're going to want to stick primarily to your pistol. Now, the benefit here is Torres, that girl right there, she can actually kick some ass. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm just going to start shooting the enemies through the windows. I was able to kill one of them, and now I'm going to kind of back up a little bit. One of the things you want to do, so first off, like I said, for these first 2 waves, we're going to primarily be sticking to our pistol. One thing that I found very helpful is to try to always stand behind Torres. That way, in order for the enemies to get to you, they have to go through Torres first. Now there you see the first wave consisted of 4 enemies. Pretty easy to get through, not much of a problem. There's a lot of pistol ammo lying around, so make sure you pick it up when you can. Now, like I said, try to always stand behind Torres. What you want to do is you want the enemies to attack her. Now, her health can go down, but if it reaches the minimum, she won't actually die. She'll just fall down and you'll have to run over and heal her. But she can kill enemies. That's the beauty of this. So unlike in Evil Within 1, when Joseph was just disarming the bomb and not doing anything, Torres can actually kill enemies. And when you see this happen right here, when you see an enemy hop on top of her, that is the best thing that can happen to you, because then you can just run up, get an instant kill on that enemy, and during the animation, the other enemies can't actually hurt you. So if you see an enemy hop on top of her, go ahead and thank the gods, because that's an easy way to get rid of one enemy right away. Now again, you see, what am I doing? I'm standing behind Torres. I'm using my pistol to deal as much damage as I can, and I'm keeping my distance, because by keeping my distance, the enemies are more likely to attack her than they are to attack me. Now this is where the luck gets involved. You see that red barrel right in front of me? Do not shoot that barrel. Do not shoot that barrel, because we're going to save it for the wave with the witch. Now, unfortunately, sometimes Torres will accidentally shoot the barrel, and I'm going to tell you right now, if that happens, you're probably going to have to redo this, because that barrel does a lot of damage to the witch, and it's very hard to get through it without that. Alright, so this is where the third wave comes. You'll notice that they come from the back of the cabin rather than the front of the cabin. And we're going to stick to the same strategy. All I've used so far is my pistol. I have not used a single other weapon. I'm just going to keep my distance. I'm going to let the enemies attack her instead of me. And I'm going to shoot them from far away in my little safe zone. So you see, that's exactly what I'm doing right here. Now she is starting to get a little low in health, and I'm getting nervous because you can see that these two enemies are standing very close to the red barrel. And like I said, you do not want to shoot that barrel just yet. So try to lure them away if you have to, but you want to keep that barrel intact. But again, you can see, I'm just letting Torres do the grunt work, and I'm going to shoot the enemies from a safe distance. So far, I've only gotten hit once. Now you see she's going to fall down. I'm going to attempt to heal her, but I don't have the time. So for now, the job comes to me, and I'm just going to take these two guys out very quickly with my shotgun. And now I'm going to run over and heal her. Now notice how I'm going to shoot a shock bolt next to the red barrel. That's because the wave with the witch is about to appear. However, the witch is not the only enemy that you have to worry about. There are also going to be a couple regular lost. So what I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm going to kill this one that sneaks through the back window. I took a piece of damage. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. You can see another enemy just hopped on top of Torres. Like I said, that's the best thing that can happen to you. But now the witch is about to enter the area. So as soon as that happens, luckily she missed that attack. I'll admit that was a little lucky, but here we go. I'm about to shoot the barrel. I dealt myself a little bit of damage. I'm okay with that. I just dealt the witch a lot of damage. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run back here to the back of the cabin. Torres is going to start shooting the witch, and that's going to lure the witch over to Torres, and I can just stay back here at a safe distance. And now this is where the shock bolts are going to save your life. I'm going to shoot a shock bolt right in front of me. That way, in case the witch does try to attack me, I have a backup plan to stall her. Now Torres just got knocked down. I really wish I had explosive bolts here that I could shoot at the witch. Unfortunately, I don't. So I just kind of wasted a shock bolt. But here we go. I lured her over here. I'm going to do 2 point-blank shotgun rounds. That's going to stun her. There's a third one that will stun her as well. I'm going to run back to my safe zone, plant another shock grenade or shock bolt, and then repeat the process. Now, like I said, it takes a little bit of luck, but you could see that from the red barrel explosion, from the shock bolt, and from all those shotgun rounds, I was able to take out the witch pretty quickly. Now are going to come the mutant crawlers, and there's going to be 2 of them. So this first one, let's get rid of him right away. 3 shotgun rounds, point-blank range, will do the trick, and now the second one's going to come into the area. Thank God I planted a backup shock bolt, because that just saved my life, and now I'm going to start unloading on this guy. Now, if you get overwhelmed, what you can do, you can see that part of the cabin has just opened up, so I'm going to actually run over to that side. And what that should allow me to do, by running over here, this guy will follow you. So you see he was able to hurt me right there, but I was able to shoot him with a shock bolt and stun him. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to deal him any damage, so here goes shock bolt number 2, and now I'm going to finish this guy off. You can see I still have enough shotgun ammo to do the trick. So there go 2 shots, and he's dead. Now all I have to do is kill those last 2 enemies, but you can see by running into this back area here, the 2 enemies are automatically going to go to Torres. So even though Torres is down and out for the fight, they're still going to sit there and attack her. So that's kind of the main strategy here, is put as much distance as you can between you and the enemies, and more often than not, they're going to focus on Torres. And so then you can kind of use that to your advantage by attacking them when they're off guard. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, this fight unfortunately does involve a slight amount of luck. So you'll notice the first piece of luck came from the fact that Torres didn't shoot the red barrel. You need that red barrel to kill the witch. The next piece of luck came from when the witch attacked me. She actually missed her attack, so sure, that was a little lucky. And then the third piece of luck came from, when did the third piece of luck come? So the third piece of luck comes from when you run into the back room. So when you run into the back room, it's not guaranteed that the enemies won't follow you. The enemies could still follow you. So it does, involve a little bit of luck with that. But there you go. So those last 2 enemies were just hounding Torres. So what did I do? I shot a smoke grenade to distract them, and then I just ran up and finished the job with my shotgun. Now, another piece of advice that I did, but I didn't have time to mention it in the commentary, is pay attention when Torres knocks down an enemy. Because if she knocks down an enemy, you can run up really quickly and stomp it for an instant kill. But there you go, guys. That's the fight. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to do this on my first try. And you can see that the main thing, the main key to my success was the shock bolts. The shock bolts saved my life against the witch. The shock bolts saved my life against the mutants. The shock bolts are key to the strategy here. Smoke bolts are okay, but I prefer shock bolts. Killing the witch would have been a bit easier if I had explosive bolts. Now, if you remember at the end of Chapter 9, I wasted 2 explosive bolts in a very foolish attempt to kill some regular Lost. And that's why I was saying in hindsight, I really wish I would have kept those bolts, because those would have helped me take out the witch right there. But anyway, guys, that's a tough fight. There's no way around it. There is no bulletproof strategy that any YouTuber can give you, because the fight is just always going to go differently. But I think with, hopefully with the general ideas I've given you, so stand behind Torres, keep your distance from the enemies, use your pistol in the first 3 waves, and then save your heavy weapons for the last 2 waves, use shock bolts to stun the bigger enemies like the witch and the mutants, things like that. Those are just general strategies that can help you out, but they're not going to guarantee success. Now, luckily, if you've been following my save points, we saved our game near the end of Chapter 9. So the only thing you'll have to redo if you die in that fight is the puzzle at the end of Chapter 9. Another piece of advice that I recommend doing is, I think a lot of people, their first instinct might be, so let's say you're about to save your game. A lot of people's first instinct might be, oh, I'm going to craft a bunch of weapons now and then save my game so that I don't have to keep crafting those weapons over and over again. I highly recommend against that. And that's because, let's say that you initially think, oh, I need to craft as much shotgun ammo as I can and explosive bolts, and I don't really need shock bolts. So let's say you have that mindset and you craft all those weapons and then you save your game. And then let's say you get into the fight and you realize, oh shit, I should have crafted shock bolts instead of explosive bolts. Well, then you're screwed because you've already saved your game. There's no way around it. So what I recommend doing is saving your game before crafting your weapons, because that allows you a lot of variability in your approach. So let's say you save your game and then you craft a lot of explosive bolts. You go into the fight and you say, you know what, I should have crafted shock bolts instead. Well, then when you reload your save, you can do exactly that. You can recraft your weapons with all of the things you've learned on your initial attempt. So that's just my recommendation, that not just for this fight, but for the entire game. It's something that has helped me a lot. Another saving piece of advice that I think a lot of people might not realize is what you can do is you can save your game before a tough section. But what you do is every time you save your game, you should save it to a new save file. And so then what that allows you to do is you can save your game to a new save file and then use that to practice the fight, but not actually keep it as a regular save. So it's a little hard to put into words, but to give you an example, in the next chapter we're going to be fighting the flamethrower boss. So I end up saving my game at the very start of Chapter 11. However, before we take on the flamethrower boss, there's a little bit of stuff we have to do before that. So one thing that I did was I saved my game at the start of 11. That is my official save. Then what I did is right before the flamethrower fight, I saved my game again, but I saved it to a new file. And so what that allowed me to do is I could reload that temporary file over and over again so that I could practice against the boss. And then all I have to do is delete that save and then go back to my official save now that I've had time to practice. And so what that does is it just makes practicing a little easier, because instead of having to do all of Chapter 11 just to practice the boss, I can just reload right to the boss and practice that over and over again without keeping it as my original save. And the only way you can do that, like I said, is every time you save your game, save it to a new file. That's the safest approach. And so I hope that makes sense. Again, it's kind of hard to put into words exactly what I'm talking about, but it's a little bit of a saving strategy, something that a lot of people might not think of, but it's actually very helpful. Now, for this part, the good news is after you finish that cabin fight, the rest of the level is pretty simple. All we have to do is stealth past a lot of those fire guys that we were introduced to in Chapter 9, and that's it. Once we stealth past them, we're going to get to Torres's safe house. That's going to trigger the start of Chapter 11, and like I said, that's where I'm going to save my game. So the good news is, after you get past that cabin fight, there's very little you can do that will actually get you killed. That being said, once you beat that cabin fight, you're never going to want to do it again. So just be cautious here. You know, this is a stealth section that, in all honesty, I could have gotten through in 5 minutes, but it's actually going to take me 10 minutes because I just wanted to go slow, I wanted to go safe, and I didn't want to be too aggressive. And at the end of the day, you know, I would much rather give up an extra 5 minutes versus having to do that cabin fight over again. So, you know, if you're more of an aggressive player and if you don't heed my warning, then so be it. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you're able to get through this with an aggressive approach. In fact, I think if you really wanted to, I think you can run through this entire section. The fire guys are pretty slow, and the safe house is off in the distance. I think if you really wanted to, you could just run through this entire part. However, like I said, I just don't think it's worth the risk. After doing that I might have called it the warehouse fight a couple times. After doing that cabin fight, you never want to do that again. So I'm just going to go through this nice and slow. And if you don't like that, that's okay, but that's what I'm going to be doing. And I'm actually going to stealth kill most of these guys. So my first instinct was actually that you couldn't stealth kill these guys. I thought that they were too strong to stealth kill. Turns out you can. The only limitation is you cannot stealth kill them while they're on fire. So you'll notice this guy in front of me right now, he's not currently on fire. And then he's about to pull a Fantastic Four and flame on. So right here, oh, maybe not. Okay, right there, he pulls a Human Torch, flame on. And you can't stealth kill him at this moment. So you have to wait for them to not be in flames. Now this guy here, he's going to run the same route over and over again, and it's pretty, it's pretty much the same. The enemies will continue their routes, and as long as they don't see you, they have no reason to change. Now, what you're going to see is I'm actually going to approach this guy for my kill, and he's going to see me. And so what I'm going to do, as I did in Chapter 9, whenever you're trying to stealth kill an enemy, if they see you, just run away. Just run away and hide again until they lose interest. Don't try, if they see you, don't panic. Don't think that you have to kill them with weapons. Just run away, hide, take a breather, and you should be fine. So you see, that's exactly what I'm about to do here. And the good news is this first guy, he's far enough away from the rest of them that even if he sees you, it won't alert the other enemies in the area. So that's pretty helpful. But anyway, I'm going to go in for the kill right here. I disagree with this. He just randomly turned around for no reason, which again is just bullshit that this game always gives me. But so what am I going to do? I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to run away. Sebastian had a little glitch in his legs right there. But I'm just going to run away. You see that he's going to get distracted by Torres. So Torres is amazing because much of our success in the cabin fight was due to Torres because we're able to draw the enemies to Torres so that she distracts them. And you could see right there, while the enemy was distracted by Torres, I was able to hide again. And then, of course, like I mentioned, the enemy is going to lose interest. and I'm going to be able to proceed on without a care in the world. Well, not without a care in the world, but I'm going to be able to proceed on as if that never happened, which is very beneficial to us. Alright, so now, again, he's going to resume his same path, and I'm going to do another attempt at the stealth kill. The stealth in this game is so bad. Like, you saw right there. So watch what he does right here. He approaches this cement barrier, he stops, and let's see if he turns around. So he turns to the left, he turns to the right. Never does he fully turn around. It's until, of course, he changes his path. But, of course, the one time I actually go in for the kill, he freaking, he turns around. It's just bullshit. There's no other word for it. Whenever, if you don't go in for the kill, I'm stuttering here because I'm so upset. If you don't go in for the kill, they never turn around like that. It's not until you go in for the kill that they'll just unpredictably turn around completely. And it's not fair. Luckily, you're able to correct for it in a lot of cases, but it's just not fair. Alright, so now what's going to happen is there's going to be a few more enemies up ahead, and luckily I'm going to be able to get through this without any other incidents, but keep in mind, if one of them were to happen to see you, I would do the same exact thing. I would turn around, I would run back to where I came from, I would let Torres deal with them, and then I would just re-hide, and everything should be fine. Now, like I said, if you really wanted to, if you're feeling aggressive and if you're feeling lucky, I think you can just run past this entire section. I really think you can do that. I know that that's what I did on my survival difficulty playthrough. It's just I wasn't willing to take that risk on my classic difficulty playthrough. So it's all about that risk analysis. If you think it's worth the risk, then sure, why not? Go ahead and try it. I just didn't think it was worth the risk. Now, I'm going to throw a glass bottle to try to lure this enemy over here, but you see that it didn't work. And so from here on out, I'm just going to avoid using glass bottles. And instead, I'm going to focus on this guy up here. So you can see him off in the distance. Now, when you go in to kill him, you just want to make sure that the other enemy is not about to converge on his path. So you have to watch both enemies here to make sure that you are, in fact, in the clear. So I'm going to stand behind this container, and you see where that enemy is standing now over behind that tree? That's where we're going to kill him. So just so you can plan for it, that's where I'm going to go in for the kill. But like I said, you want to just be patient to make sure that the other enemy in the area, you want to make sure he doesn't converge on that path. Alright, so here you see he's about to come back out. So I'm going to rotate my camera a little bit. You can see that both enemies are in the same location. Alright, so here he goes back to the tree area, and it's at this moment that you can see the other enemy. Now he's going to diverge away from the path, and so that's when I can go in for the kill. So here we go. Now you can see this enemy up and to the right. I don't know why, but that enemy always just stays in that corner. That enemy does not move. I've never once seen him move. He just stays there facing the wall, and it's really helpful. And so now that enemy is out of the way, we're going to focus on this guy by the car. Unfortunately, you can see that now there's two enemies by the car. So for some reason, one of them just randomly comes over and he drops a body right there. And so we're going to have to do the same thing essentially. We're going to focus on killing one enemy, but you're going to see that at certain moments their paths will converge, and then at other moments their paths will diverge. It occurs to me I'm using language that is common in mathematics, but people might not know what it means in a literary sense. So when I say converge, I basically mean coming together. When I say diverge, I basically mean spreading apart. So at certain moments, their two paths are going to meet up, and it's going to be, at those moments, you can't kill them because there's two of them. And then at other moments, their paths are going to separate, and that's when you can go in for the kill. Now, this guy right here, he actually did see me. So like I said, when that happens, let's not panic. We're just going to hide and play it safe. So you see he's going to come over and investigate. Now, you might be able to actually sneak in a kill at this moment, but you might not want to risk that because there's a little more improvisation in that approach because, you've never seen this path before, so you might go in for the kill, and then at the last second he might turn around or do something unpredictable. So Instead, I'm just going to let him go back to resuming his normal path. You know, like I said, I'm taking a very relaxed, non-aggressive approach. Now, you might want to play it differently. If so, that's fine. It's just up to the player's choice here. But here we go. You can see, once again, the two enemies are going to be hanging out by the car. And so I'm just going to kind of creep up behind this blue container now. And I'm going to analyze their paths. And I'm going to wait until I have my opportunity. So you can see that guy over there in the corner. Like I said, he just stays there for some reason. I don't really know why he does that. Now this enemy is standing in front of the car. And you can see that he is now going to stay there. So he changed his path a little bit. He's going to just stand there in front of the car. And you can see the other enemy is going to just kind of make a U-shape around the car. So right now he's leaving. He's going to trail around the car. And then he's going to come back up the path. And he's just going to walk in this kind of U-shaped pattern. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait. So here you see he's coming back up the tail. And then once again he's going to stop. And then eventually he'll turn around and make that U-shape again. And when he does that this time, that's when I'm going to make my move. So any second now he's going to turn. And here we go. Now keep in mind this guy is currently on fire. So I'm just going to hold up a second. And there we go. Now I have my opening. So go ahead and kill this guy. We timed it perfectly so that the other guy is at the front of the car. He has no idea what just happened. And so now we're just going to wait for our opportunity to kill that guy. So again, we can just analyze his path. It's a pretty easy path to follow. It's just that same U-shape. You would think that realistically he would see that I've just killed his friend and he would maybe change his path or something, but he just he doesn't. He doesn't seem to care. He just resumes his normal behavior. So now he's at the front of the car. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for him to come back up the tail. So here we go. He's on fire, so I'm not going to make my move yet. But right now, he's going to stop. I'm going to wait. And there we go. Now I'm going to kill one more enemy, and that's going to be this guy that's over here stuck in the corner. I don't actually think you have to kill him. I don't think he'll ever actually see you, but I figured, you know what? He's easy to kill. He's right there. Let's just do it. Better safe than sorry. I would hate to, I would hate to be making my move and then to have him sneak up on me at the last second somehow. So I'm going to approach him, but I knew he was about to pull a human torch, so I just held off a second. And now as soon as that flame extinguishes, there we go. Alright, so there are, I believe, 3 more enemies in the area, but it turns out we can run past them without any conflict. So what I'm going to do, they're all going to be over here in this area. Now, like I said, in all honesty, you could probably just run at this point, but, I'm cautious, I'm nervous, I'm scared, and so I'm just going to play it as safe as I can. So I'm going to creep over to this white fence right here. And I'm going to kind of rotate the camera for you guys so you can see what's going on. So there's an enemy over there in the distance. He tends to not move. He's either chewing apart someone or praying or something, but he tends to not really be a threat. Instead, it's these two guys. So you can see him and you can see his buddy right there. Again, they're just going to follow the same exact paths. So this guy on the right, he's starting to make his way toward me once again. So I'm going to wait until he turns around, and that's when I'm going to make my move. And we're so close, guys. And that's why I'm saying it just pays to be cautious here, because at this point, you don't want to make a mistake. You do not want to have to redo the cabin fight when you're this close. So now I'm going to creep behind this cement barrier right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a bottle, and I'm going to lure them both over there. So there goes the bottle. Make sure you throw it behind both of them. So they're about to go investigate. They're both going to turn around. I'm going to stand up. And I'm just going to run right through this fence here. They never knew what hit them, and now I'm just going to sprint. They might have heard me sprint, but that's okay. I'm just going to run all the way over here to this tree. Torres will follow behind, and that will trigger the end of Chapter 11. So there you go, guys. That's it. I really hope these strategies helped you out. At this point, this is the farthest I've made it in the game. I have been practicing the O'Neill flamethrower fight, so I'm pretty confident I'll be able to bring you another video pretty soon. At this moment, my biggest fear is not having enough supplies to get through the firewalk. That is currently my biggest fear. But hopefully we'll be okay. We've been doing a pretty good job at conserving ammunition. Now Torres is going to lead you to her safe room. what I'm going to do, let me make a quick note on the saves here. If you want to, you can actually pretty much go all the way up until the O'Neill boss fight before you save your game, because there's really not a lot of threats at the beginning of Chapter 11. However, I am in constant fear now that my game is going to crash on me, so I decided just to save my game at the start of Chapter 11. So if you really want to, you can wait until the start of the boss fight to save your game. That'll make things a little easier on you. But like I said, I was just terrified that my game would crash again, so I said I'm just going to save my game here. That'll be up to you. I leave that decision, you know, up to your judgment. But for me, I'm going to save my game right here at the start of Chapter 11. And that will pretty much do it. So go ahead and wrap up this conversation with Torres. And we are now halfway through the walkthrough. So the first 4 videos are finished. We have 4 more videos to go. And hopefully I'm able to bring you those pretty soon. So go ahead and save your game. Again, like I said earlier, save it to a new slot. Always get in the habit of doing that because it allows you to backtrack if you need to. Thank you for watching, everyone. Like and subscribe if you get the chance. I'll see you in the next video.